7 days. That's all it took to fade brown spots. A dermatologist quoted her $1,200 to laser off. She used 6 things, most of them already in her house. 74-year-old woman, my patient. Her face looked 60. Her hands looked 85. Crepe skin, deep lines across the knuckles, spots scattered from her wrist to her fingertips. She'd spent thousands on her face over 20 years and never once touched her hands. She told me she'd started hiding them in photos, keeping them under the table at restaurants. Then she started applying 6 things every night before bed. 7 days later, the difference stopped me mid-exam. Here's what nobody explains. The skin on your hands is the thinnest on your body and takes the most abuse. Sun, water, soap, cold every single day for decades. The collagen there collapses faster than anywhere on your face and the pigment clusters darker. But that thinnest cuts both ways. The right ingredients penetrate deeper and work faster, as long as you apply them at night when your skin repairs itself and there's no sun undoing the work by morning. Those 6 things break apart the clustered pigment, rebuild the collagen underneath, and flood that thin skin with what it's been starved of for years, $180 billion a year. The skincare industry, selling you face creams while your hands announce your real age to everyone who shakes them. Nobody profits off your hands, which is exactly why nobody told you. Now, number 2 on this list faded the spots faster than anything else we tested, and it costs almost nothing. Every study is waiting for you in the description. Before we start, tell me one thing below. What's your age, and do your hands look older than your face? I read every comment myself, and I write back. Now, let's start with number 6, the first thing you apply to your hands before bed, and the change you'll see by morning. Number 6, vitamin C serum. We start with the one that works quietly in the background, and it is vitamin C. Now, most people hear vitamin C and think of oranges and colds. This is different. When you apply vitamin C directly onto skin, it does something it cannot do from the inside. It acts as a required helper for the 2 enzymes that build collagen. Think of collagen as the scaffolding under your skin, the internal frame that keeps the back of your hand looking full instead of hollow. Without enough vitamin C sitting in the tissue, those enzymes work slowly, like a construction crew missing half its tools. Feed the crew and building speeds up. In laboratory work on human skin cells, adding vitamin C increased collagen production by as much as 8 times compared to cells without it. And in a 6-month human trial using a 5% vitamin C cream, researchers measured real structural change with significant improvement in deep furrows and a measurable rise in skin density on ultrasound scans compared to the placebo side. That matters for hands because thin, creepy hand skin is a density problem more than a wrinkle problem. Vitamin C also interferes with tyrosinase, the enzyme that starts pigment production, so it slowly fades the brown spots at the same time. Here is how to actually use it. Buy a serum with L-ascorbic acid between 10% and 20%, and check that it comes in a dark or opaque bottle, because vitamin C breaks down in light and turns useless. If your serum has gone dark orange or brown, throw it out. It is oxidized. Wash your hands with lukewarm water and pat them until they are just barely damp, not dripping. Apply 3 to 4 drops to the back of each hand and spread it right up over the knuckles and down between the fingers because that is where thinning shows first. Then wait. This is the step everyone skips. Give it 2 to 3 minutes to absorb before anything else touches your skin. Vitamin C needs a slightly acidic surface to penetrate, and piling a thick cream on top of a wet serum blocks it. The best way to get maximum benefit is consistency at night, every single night, because the vitamin builds up in the tissue over about 3 days and then stays at a useful level as long as you keep reapplying. Stop for a week and the reservoir drains. A quick warning. If your hands are cracked, raw, or have open splits, vitamin C will sting badly. Heal the cracks first. And if you have very sensitive skin, start with 10% and use it every other night for the first 2 weeks. One more tip that costs nothing. Store the bottle in the fridge. Cold slows oxidation, and your serum will stay active for months longer. That is your foundation laid. Now let us move to the one that clears the way for everything else. Number 5, glycolic acid. Number 5 is glycolic acid, and this one is about removal, not addition. Your skin sheds dead cells constantly, but as we age, that process slows down dramatically. In your 20s, a full turnover took about 28 days. By your 50s and 60s, it can stretch to 45 or even 60 days. So dead cells sit on the surface of your hands, stacked up, dull, rough to the touch, and they hold on to pigment. That is a huge part of why hands look gray and mottled. Glycolic acid is an alpha-hydroxy acid made from sugar cane, and it works by dissolving the glue that holds those dead cells together. It has the smallest molecule of all the acids in its family, so it goes deeper than the rest. And here is the study that should get your attention, because it was done on arms, not faces. Researchers applied a 25% alpha hydroxy acid lotion to the forearms of volunteers for 6 months. At the end, they took skin samples. The treated skin was about 25% thicker, with more collagen and more of the natural moisture molecules that keep skin plump. The untreated arm showed no change. So this is not just polishing, it is rebuilding. Now, how to use it on hands safely? Look for a glycolic acid lotion or serum between 8% and 10% for beginners. Do not start at 20% or 30%. Apply it to completely dry hands because damp skin lets acid penetrate faster and unevenly, which is how people end up with irritation. Use a small amount, about the size of a pea for both hands, and spread it over the backs only. Keep it off your palms, which do not need it, and keep it away from broken skin. Use it 2 nights per week to begin with, never every night. Your hands are exposed to soap and water constantly, and overexfoliated hands become red, tight, and sore fast. After 3 or 4 weeks, if your skin is calm, you can go up to 3 nights per week. That is the ceiling for most people. The trick to maximum benefit is timing. Apply glycolic on the nights you are not using your strongest active, and always follow it with a proper moisturizer about 10 minutes later, once the acid has done its work. And here's the rule that is not optional. Glycolic acid makes your skin significantly more sensitive to sunlight, and your hands are the most sun-exposed skin you own. If you exfoliate at night and then drive to work the next morning with your hands on the wheel, you will make the spots worse, not better. So sunscreen on the hands the next day is mandatory, not a suggestion. Reapply after washing. Think of glycolic as opening the door, and everything else in this list walks through it. Now that the surface is clear, we can start putting water back where it belongs. Number 4. Urea and hyaluronic acid. Number 4 is the hydration layer, and it uses 2 ingredients together, urea and hyaluronic acid. Let me explain why hands specifically need this. Your skin holds water using a set of natural molecules called humectants, which are simply substances that grab water and hold it like a sponge. Hand skin has very few oil glands, so it loses those humectants every single time you wash, sanitize, or scrub a dish. That is why hands feel tight within minutes of washing. Urea is one of the humectants your skin makes naturally, so applying it is really just replacing what soap stripped away. At concentrations of 5% to 10%, it pulls water into the outer layer and softens hard, rough patches. Hyaluronic acid does something similar, but on a bigger scale. A single gram of it can hold up to 6 liters of water. In an 8-week study using hyaluronic acid formulations, researchers recorded skin hydration rising by around 96% and wrinkle depth dropping by up to 40% in the treated areas. That is not collagen rebuilding. That is skin filling back out with water, which is exactly what makes creepy hands look smooth again quickly. And this is the ingredient responsible for most of the change people notice inside 7 days. Here's how to apply it properly, because most people do this completely backwards. Hyaluronic acid pulls water from wherever it can find it. If you apply it to bone-dry hands in a dry room, it will pull water out of your deeper skin and actually leave you drier. So the rule is simple: damp skin only. Rinse your hands, shake off the excess, leave them slightly wet, and apply the serum immediately while there's still water on the surface. Use 2 or 3 drops per hand. If you're using a urea cream, look for 10% for normal dryness and 20% only if you have thick, cracked skin. Apply the hyaluronic first because it is thinner than the urea cream on top, then give it 60 seconds. To get the maximum out of this step, pay attention to your bedroom air. If you sleep with air conditioning or heating running, the humidity in that room can drop very low and your hydration layer will evaporate straight off overnight. A small humidifier beside the bed makes a genuine difference, and so does the sealing step you're about to hear. One caution on urea. At 20% and above, it can sting on cracked skin, so start at 10% and stay there unless your hands are severely rough. And do not confuse a hydrating serum with a moisturizer. Water without a lid on top just leaves, which brings us perfectly to the step that puts the lid on. Number 3, the petrolatum seal and cotton gloves. Number 3 is the sealing step, and this is where people go from small improvements to obvious ones. Everything you have applied so far is water-based. Water evaporates. Skin loses moisture constantly through a process called transepidermal water loss, which is just a technical way of saying water escapes through the surface of your skin into the air. On hands, that loss is high because the barrier is thin and damaged. So you need an occlusive, which means a substance that sits on top and physically blocks evaporation. Nothing on earth does this better than plain petrolatum. In barrier research, petrolatum was shown to reduce that water loss by more than 98%. And unlike some heavy oils, it does not just sit there like plastic wrap. It works its way into the gaps between skin cells and speeds up barrier repair from the inside. It is also one of the least irritating substances in dermatology, which is why it is used on newborns and after surgery. Now add the second half, and this is the real secret. Cover your hands with cotton gloves. Occlusion, which simply means covering the skin so nothing escapes, dramatically increases how much of your active ingredients actually get absorbed. Studies on occluded skin have shown penetration of applied ingredients rising several fold compared to open skin, in some cases up to 10 times. So the gloves are not just keeping the cream off your sheets. They are pushing the vitamin C, the acids, and everything else deeper into the tissue for 7 or 8 hours straight. That is why this routine works overnight and not during the day. Here's exactly how to do it. After your hydrating layer, take a small amount of petrolatum, about the size of a large pea for both hands, and warm it between your palms for 5 seconds so it spreads easily. Then apply a thin layer over the backs of your hands, over the knuckles, and around the nail beds and cuticles, which age just as fast. It should look slightly shiny, not thick and greasy. More is not better, it just makes a mess. Then put on clean 100% cotton gloves. Not polyester or not nylon, because synthetic fabric traps heat and sweat and can irritate. Cotton breathes while still holding everything in. You can buy them cheaply anywhere, and you should wash them every 2 or 3 nights, because used gloves collect bacteria and dead skin. If you cannot tolerate gloves, thin cotton socks work exactly the same way. For maximum benefit, do this every single night for the first 14 days, then at least 4 nights a week after that. One important note: if you have a fungal issue between your fingers or any open wound, skip the occlusion until it heals, because sealing in moisture over infection makes it worse. Otherwise, this step alone will change how your hands feel by morning. Now, we get to the 2 heavyweights, starting with the ingredient dermatologists trust more than any other. Number 2, encapsulated retinol. Number 2 is retinol, and this is the most studied anti-aging ingredient in existence. Retinol is a form of vitamin A. Once it is absorbed, your skin converts it into retinoic acid, which is the active form. And that molecule goes straight to the cell nucleus and switches on genes that control how fast your skin renews itself and how much collagen it produces. In plain language, it tells old, slow skin cells to start behaving like young ones again. And there is a study that fits your hands almost perfectly. Researchers took a group of elderly volunteers, average age 87, and applied 0.4% retinol lotion to the skin of their upper inner arms 3 times a week for 24 weeks. Compared to the untreated side, the retinol side showed significantly fewer fine wrinkles, and skin samples revealed increased production of the molecules that hold water in the deeper layers, along with more new collagen. That was on thin, aged, non-facial skin in people in their 80s. That is the point. It is never too late for this ingredient to work. Retinol also fades pigment because it speeds up how fast pigmented cells are pushed to the surface and shed. Now, the word encapsulated matters. Encapsulated retinol is wrapped in a tiny protective shell that releases it slowly over hours instead of dumping it all at once. That means far less redness, peeling, and stinging, which is exactly what you want on hands that already deal with soap all day. Look for 0.1% to 0.3% encapsulated retinol to start. Here is the method. Wash and dry your hands completely, then wait 10 minutes. Applying retinol to damp skin increases irritation sharply. Use a pea-sized amount for both hands, spread it thinly over the backs, and keep it off broken skin and away from your eyes, so wash your fingertips afterward. Start with 2 nights per week for the first 3 weeks. Then move to 3 nights and eventually up to every other night if your skin stays calm. Do not use retinol on the same night as glycolic acid. Alternate them. That single rule prevents almost every retinol disaster. After the retinol absorbs for 10 minutes, apply your moisturizer and your petrolatum seal on top, which cushions the skin and reduces flaking without blocking the benefit. Expect a short adjustment period. Some dryness and mild flaking in the first 2 to 3 weeks is normal, and it settles. If your hands become red and sore, drop back to once a week. And again, sunscreen on your hands during the day is not optional with retinol because new skin is more vulnerable to sun. Give this 12 weeks before you judge it because collagen is slow. Now, finally, the ingredient that started as a laboratory accident and became the single best thing you can put on aging hands. Number 1, 5% niacinamide. Here it is. Number 1 is niacinamide, a form of vitamin B3, and this is the one I told you about at the start. Scientists are studying how age spots actually form. What they found is that pigment is not made in your surface skin cells. It is made in specialized cells underneath, packaged into little parcels, and then handed upward into the surface cells like a delivery. Block that handover, and the spot cannot appear, no matter how much pigment gets made. Niacinamide does exactly that. In laboratory testing, it reduced the pigment transfer by between 35% and 68%. Then they tested it on people. In a trial using 5% niacinamide on human skin for 8 weeks, hyperpigmented spots were significantly reduced compared to the untreated side, with visible fading that graders could measure. In a longer 12-week study, 5% niacinamide improved not only spots but also red blotchiness, fine lines, wrinkles, and skin elasticity. And it does something else that hands desperately need. Niacinamide increases your skin's own production of ceramides, which are the natural fats that hold your barrier together, and studies have measured water loss dropping by roughly 24% after 4 weeks of use. So it fades spots, it rebuilds the barrier, it softens wrinkles, and it does all three with almost no irritation. That combination does not exist anywhere else on this list. Here's how to use it. Choose a serum or cream with 5% niacinamide. Higher is not better, and above 10%, some people get flushing and redness for no extra benefit. Apply it to clean, slightly damp hands, 3 to 4 drops per hand, spread over the backs, knuckles, fingers, and up onto the wrists, because the wrist line ages just as visibly. Because it is so gentle, you can use it every single night with no break, and you should. Consistency is where niacinamide wins. Most people see barrier and texture changes within 7 to 14 days, and spot fading becomes clearly visible somewhere between 4 and 8 weeks. Now the part that makes it even stronger. Niacinamide layers beautifully with everything. Apply it after your hydrating serum and before your retinol, and it actually reduces retinol irritation while you use both. It also pairs well with vitamin C, despite the old myth that they cancel each other out. Modern formulations handle that fine. If you only have the energy for 2 steps at night, make them niacinamide followed by petrolatum under cotton gloves. That alone will transform your hands. One last thing that matters more than any product. Apply sunscreen to your hands every morning, all year, even in winter, even indoors near a window. Everything you build at night gets undone by 20 minutes of sun on the back of your hands. Protect the work while it grows. So, there you have it. 6 things to put on your hands before you sleep tonight. Start simple, be consistent, and give your hands the same attention you have been giving your face for years. If this helped you, please subscribe to the channel so you never miss the next one. Thank you so much for watching.